Welcome to the first ever episode of Fearless and Faithful. My name is Charlotte and I am your host. This is the first ever episode and I am actually so nervous. Setting up a podcast and all of the technicalities with it is not as simple as I thought it was going to be, and I am so excited to bring it to you. I have created this podcast because I have had a lot of life experience that has led me to have a mindset that I think will help a lot of other women. It is likely that you are following me and here from TikTok. If you're not, then hello, thank you so much for being here. Please let me know in the comments where you've come from, because I would love to be able to track it and see where the algorithm is bringing people into me from. 3 years ago, I went through a very traumatic experience, lost my entire life overnight. Most people, they let that experience determine the rest of their life. They never actually get over it, and I know this because I was made to go on domestic awareness courses where I met a lot of different women who were still attending the courses 3, 5, 10 years after they'd left the abusive relationship. And I was just like, this isn't working. Like, clearly this framework and this structure isn't working, because if it was, you wouldn't still feel the need to attend these courses. Then came to TikTok last year, and that was the first time that I'd come on TikTok. And I essentially was reaching out for help. My son had been taken by my ex-partner again. I didn't have TikTok at all prior to this, and I posted a video, and within 48 hours it had got over, I think, like 300,000 views. And there was just an outpour of people, parents who had been through a similar situation where, you know, they'd had false allegations made against them, there'd been a relationship breakdown, the other parent had taken the child. Then I realised how much of a widespread problem this actually was, and I had a lot of women reaching out to me for help and support. My honest answer for anybody looking for emotional support at that time, going through court proceedings, was to seek God. It was due to my faith that I was able to not only come out of that situation, but come out a lot stronger, a lot wiser. And I like who I am so much more now. In fact, I love who I am now in comparison to the woman that I was then. And I have been on a journey over the last 3 years of self-discovery, rewiring my brain. I think it started from a place of wanting to prove everybody wrong. And I had a lot of personal attacks and judgment in my own personal life due to these circumstances. As a mother, if your child is removed from your care, people will automatically assume that you have done something wrong. The accusation to me from my ex-partner, and the reason he took my child, was because he said that I was mentally unstable. I think he named 7 different mental illnesses that he claimed that I had, which were lies to the court. And, you know, I have obviously had this all proven, that there was never a mental illness. There isn't a current mental illness. I have obviously all of the paperwork to prove this. I've had all of the mental health assessments to prove this. But whilst this was going on, I needed to prove to myself and to everybody else that I wasn't mad. When you are going through something this stressful, it is easy to lose your mind. And I understand why people do. But I was very much on a journey of, I know I'm not crazy. The professionals are telling me that I'm not, but because I still don't have my child, everybody around me is still perceiving me in that way. And so I went on a journey of becoming as mentally strong and resilient as I could possibly be. And it very much led me to God. I'd always believed in God, but this has strengthened my faith 100-fold. And when I came on TikTok last year, for looking for help, looking to see if somebody could help me locate my child, if there was something that I could do about finding my child, I thereafter just got influxes of messages, like thousands of messages from women who were like, please help me, I don't know what to do. And at that point, I wasn't at crisis point mentally, because I'd already gone through it and I had already given myself the tools that I needed now to navigate through those hard times and hard things in my life. And I was saying to people, look, my only advice right now is for you to find God, like speak to God, seek God. And to a lot of people, especially non-believers, that's not very helpful advice. It's sort of like woo-woo advice to some people, but that is my truth. And after that, I started to ask myself, well, why am I now this resilient? Like, why am I now this strong? And I looked back at the journey that I'd been on over the last 2-3 years, and I was consciously rebuilding my life. I was doing things intentionally to rebuild my life, but I was also doing a lot of things that I wasn't necessarily aware of that had given me a significant amount of strength and a lot of coping strategies. I still see so many women struggling with a lot of difficult emotions. As a mother, if you go through anything traumatic with your child, it's going to cause you a significant amount of trauma. And when this first happened to me, thought that I was having a breakdown, and most people would have had a breakdown. There are not many people that would go through what I went through and not have a breakdown. The fact that I didn't have a complete breakdown and I actually completely rebuilt my life, stronger, better, I become wiser. I didn't let it break me or define me. I went the complete opposite way, and I allowed myself to grow through this experience. I allowed myself to learn, to become better, and I just went the complete opposite way to what everybody thought that I would have, and anybody would have expected me to have. And I have now spent, since I come on TikTok last year, a lot of time working out what it is that I have done and what is the difference in me and the way that I have chosen to deal with this, and the women who are in those domestic awareness groups for 10 years and they're still stuck in the past. And that is why Fearless and Faithful is here. I have spent the last 2 years reprogramming my brain. This has been a conscious exercise that I have chosen to do, and it took 2 years for me to fully come full circle on this and to complete it. Now, Charlotte 3 years ago probably would not have had the confidence to be able to come online and speak so openly and be so raw and be so open and be so honest. This is a result of me rebuilding myself over the last 2 years, and I want to help women, because I feel like a lot of women feel like they're having a breakdown, and it isn't actually a breakdown that they're having. They're having something called an identity collapse. And this isn't actually very widely spoken about in psychology. As far as I'm aware, it is information that you have to go looking for. And there is a significant difference in a breakdown and an identity collapse. Because people aren't aware of what that is, they're not aware of the language, they're not aware of what is actually happening, they just automatically assume that they are having a breakdown. Now, between having a breakdown and having an identity collapse, the coping mechanisms and the things that people will do to be able to cope with the weight of these feelings, because they're extremely heavy and difficult feelings, I have seen women turn to drinking, turn to drugs, start going out partying, becoming promiscuous, doing things that, as a woman of God myself, obviously I don't agree with. I don't agree with it because it's biblical, but I also don't agree with it because for your soul and as a woman, these are not good coping mechanisms for you mentally, physically, emotionally, and on a soul level. And I believe that they are factors in why women don't completely heal. And if they do heal, they're not healing from a place of awareness. They're healing from a place of fear, and that will not allow you to move forward and go on and to live the best possible life that you can live. And that is what I want this podcast to be. I want this podcast to be a space where I can educate women on the differences in things such as a breakdown and an identity collapse. I want to be able to put language to it. I want to be able to give you a framework to it, and I want to be able to help women rebuild their lives with purpose so that you are more fulfilled than you were before the fire ever began. I want women as a collective to raise their vibration and to live the most beautiful and fulfilling life that they possibly can, because I have spoken to too many women now who have allowed the bad circumstances in their life to define the rest of their life, and not in a positive way at all. And it pains me. It doesn't have to be that way. I went through the most traumatic experience that, in my opinion, a mother could possibly go through. And it didn't kill me. Like, it made me so much stronger, wiser, and I wouldn't change that experience now for the world, because it has taken me to where I am today. But there are so many women that stay stuck in this sort of limbo of never fully recovering from the things that have happened to them. My decisions, my mindset, and the way that I operate in my life isn't based on my reality. It isn't based on my outside world. I deal with things based on my internal world, and I think that this is why I have been able to cope and to manage in the way that I have, because everything is coming from within. And when I am struggling, when I am going through difficult times, I lean on God. I find comfort in going to God. I do not seek validation from external sources. I do not seek comfort from external sources. I go to God, and it has given me the most grounding coping mechanism that I could ever wish for. And it's completely free. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to go to God. You can, go to all of these seminars, you can do all of these retreats. There are so many things that you can do, and I'm not saying that they're not good for you. God is available to everyone, and this is going to be a God pod. Like, I'm not going to lie, it is called Fearless and Faithful. I am a Christian woman. It is going to be a God pod, but I'm not here like God, constantly, day in, day out, on every single episode. Every single episode is going to include God, because it is such a big part of my life. It is such a big part of my message, and I would not be here today if God didn't save my life, and if God didn't love me and rescue me in the way that he did. But I will also give you very practical coping mechanisms. And it isn't a space where we're not going to sit and stay in the pain, okay? We will go through the pain. This first episode is very much about me giving you a little bit of background on me, explaining, where I've come from, what I've been through, where I am now, and how I've managed to cope. But moving forward, this is going to be very reconstructive. Like, you're going to rebuild and rise. I am going to give you all of the tools and resources, everything that I possibly know, all of the knowledge that I've gained over the last 3 years, in going from being at absolute rock bottom, having absolutely nothing, to being a fulfilled and whole and wholesome woman again. It was a very difficult journey. Had I had a lot of the information that I know now, it wouldn't have taken me as long to rebuild. I would have been able to do it a lot sooner, and this is what I want for other women. People message me on TikTok on a daily, and one of the main problems that I see is they're blaming everyone else. They're looking outside at everyone else. Well, he's done this to me, he's done that to me, she's done this to me, she's done that to me. Stop there. Is the first place that you are going wrong. What have you done? How can you take accountability? How can you take responsibility? And how can you move forward and change your life? Take control back of your life. Stop going externally for anything, whether that's negative coping mechanisms, validation, reassurance, blame. You have played your part too. And the first step in awareness is accountability. Being able to say, do you know what? I've not always been perfect. I've not always done the right thing, but I want to grow. I want to evolve. I want to become better. And anybody can change their life. I was genuinely at rock bottom. Like, I was homeless, had my child with me. It was me and her that were completely fucked. Like, we were not fine, and we had nothing, like absolutely nothing, and I had to rebuild from scratch. Have I done that with the help of few very loving people in my life? Absolutely. I wouldn't have got to this point without the very loving people in my life. But on a mental and an emotional level, the only person that could have got me here was me. And it is the same for you. You can listen to other people, you can take advice, you can accept help, and you can do those things. But on an emotional, mental and soul level, the only person that can change your life is you, because everything starts from within. And that is why Fearless and Faithful is here, to help you grow, to help you rise, and to help you to step into the woman that you were always meant to become. And you will be able to look at life and look at the things that have happened to you as a learning experience, as opposed to an experience that has to define you in a negative way for the rest of your life. Yeah, that is the very first episode of the pod done. On the second episode, we are going to be talking about what nobody tells you about healing a broken heart. And as I said, we're going to move forward into very reconstructive frameworks, because I want to be able to help people grow and evolve and to build their dream life, like everything that you want. Okay, this is a completely safe space for you to think as big and as beautifully as you possibly can. I want you to completely and wholeheartedly believe in yourself, believe in your goals, believe in your dreams, and believe in your own ability to get you there. Straightforward plans, because I am telling you, with God in your life and with self-belief, you can achieve whatever it is that you want. And I really hope that you find this podcast a helpful part of your journey in being able to move forward and do that. Once the podcast hits 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to get a studio and I'm going to start having guests on. So if you would like to see that, then please subscribe, share the podcast with somebody that you think might find it helpful, and I would love for you to tune into the next one.